Well, emulation is finally allowed on the App Store, which is a huge emulation W to me. Even bigger preservation W, because, you know, being able to play things on more devices than just Android and pretty much everything else under the sun is great. Can't imagine it's going to make Nintendo too happy, though. But fuck them, really, at this point. But, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it here, because it's impressive to me to finally be seeing emulation pop up on iOS. I thought it was a joke at first, because honestly, like I saw it show up in like a post somewhere, and I was like, oh man, that's interesting. And then one that I dug, and then I actually found an emulator. So the one I'm going to be covering today is Delta DS emulator, or not DS, but everything emulator pretty much. It's got let me pull up the menu real quick. I'm in a screen recording already on iPhone, but it's got Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and Nintendo DS. I'm going to be covering the DS side of it, which, by the way, is a fork of Melon DS, which is a, you know, mainly computer and Mac only kind of thing. But it's impressive to see it running, and from what I can tell, it runs really good. And yeah, so I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna pop some shit up on screen, some gameplay, if you will, some stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and resume this, and so far so good, right? Because like the main reason it took me few days, you know, about 10 days to make this video is because I wanted to playtest these myself and wait to see if any more rolled out. To my knowledge, the ones that rolled out are not good or just absolute fucking scams. So I have audio being routed through headphones on this, but it should show up in the screen recording. And just listen to that absolutely bit crush soundtrack. Hang on, here we go. Come on. So the main thing I don't like about this emulator is the skins that it puts on, because it makes the screen smaller, but I think that helps with the original DS resolution. But even then, I think this emulator has some sort of high resolution 3D rendering enabled. I don't know off the top of my head. I will look it up while I edit this video if Melon does that, but it's safe to assume it does. I use DSMU for my emulation needs on PC, even though I would rather play on official hardware. I have a modded Nintendo 3DS with everything I could ever want from my old game catalog. I ripped all my own games. I do not condone piracy. Do not pirate games. But something else I wanted to get into real quick for this emulator that might make Nintendo a little happier. The sheer fact alone that for Melon DS, for the DS emulator side anyway, I know for a fact the Game Boy doesn't require this, but the DS one requires the BIOS 7, BIOS 9, and firmware bins, which for Nintendo is probably a good thing, because Nintendo did just, you know, about a year ago anyway, did just, you know, flash the katanas, you know, pull out the GAT and threaten Steam into not allowing things like Dolphin to appear on Steam, for openly allowing the decryption keys and I believe some level of the BIOS, I'm not entirely sure, to be allowed, like just within the software itself, within the download. I'm still amazed that Dolphin hasn't been taken down, but I'm glad, because like Nintendo shouldn't be so hard on systems they do not support no more. But back to the performance here. I'm fat fingering shit on accident. Got big old fingers, and touchscreen controls fucking suck. That's why I don't really use this. That's why this save isn't very far. From what I can tell, there's zero input delay. The sound emulation is perfect. The speed, I haven't dropped a frame, but then again, I'm not playing crazy intensive games. Although Animal Crossing Wild World did run at, you know, a solid 20 frames per second back on the Nintendo DS, and it looked a lot worse. I have some gorilla style footage I'll show you. I had it recorded with my phone because I am not at all putting a fucking capture card in my 3DS because that's expensive, and I'm pretty sure the custom firmware mod for game capture through like your internet, I don't think that works on Twilight Menu, which is what I'm using to play my DS games, because all my DS games are starting to get to the point where they are, giving me trouble reading and all that, and I can't put up with it. But with that said, this emulator is running phenomenal on this hardware, which is not impressive to me, really. It's impressive when you like step back and take a look at the fact that it took forever to get here, and the fact that it's a fork of Melon DS that's being used in this emulator, which I think the only reason, now don't quote me on this because I didn't make it, but I'm pretty sure it's only because Melon DS supports Mac OS's ARM builds now, because iPhone just decided to make their own shit entirely. So yeah, but I think that's how they got it running on iOS. Shit, I missed that fish because I couldn't hear it. I don't have the headphones in, but I know the audio quality's great. But yeah, so I think that's where that runs out. And so I went ahead and tested this on an iPhone 6s because I know that the DS emulator from Drastic DS emulator on Android can run on anything as far back as a Galaxy S5 and be relatively smooth, provided you keep your expectations in check when it comes to, high resolution 3D rendering and just general like shit like speed ups. And it's impressive actually that it runs that good. I used to play on a Galaxy S7 Edge, which aside from getting incredibly hot, it ran phenomenal. But yeah, this is proof here that there is no input delay, which is great because some emulators, namely ones Nintendo makes themselves, the Wii U emulator for this game in particular is terrible with input delay. You have to kind of predict things. So yeah, this is impressive for a first official showing of an emulator running on iOS without having to jailbreak your device, which is fucking awesome to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and save and quit this so I don't have to fucking deal with Mr. Rossetti and show off a few more games while I talk about a few things. So I do know that iOS, or at the very least Mac OS, but pretty sure iOS also doesn't support it, but I'm pretty sure JIT, or just in time compilation, which a basic rundown is, it's like dynamic translation that compiles everything during the execution of a program instead of before execution. I'm pretty sure iOS and Mac OS do not support that, which means the chances of us getting any, you know, GameCube, PS2, and Wii emulators running on iPhone anytime soon might be pretty slim. Which, I mean, I'm gonna keep it real here. I think the main reason they don't support a lot of these like back-end optimization type things for like code compilation and like translation is because they don't want to fuck around and have battery drain, because iOS wants things to run smooth. They want their shitty little tiny batteries to last as long as possible. And I don't blame them for that, I guess, but it's kind of ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, it's cool though that we're finally seeing this, but we're still a ways behind on emulation. Considering Android, you can crank up full PS2 games. There are even people emulating fucking Windows. I've seen a video of someone playing GTA 5 on an Android device. But yeah, it's impressive. It's running through Wine. I don't know the exact things, but yeah, it is impressive, incredibly impressive. And from a preservation standpoint, for people who may not have a beefy PC but have an iPhone, or just prefer being on iPhone as opposed to PC and stuff, like minus the touch controls for DS emulation, I personally think mobile's the best way to do it, because the DS was always made to be a pick up and play kind of system. And I mean, I'm all for that 110%. I use drastic throughout most of my life on Android, and I will show some drastic footage just so we just so you can see like the optimization levels that it had, because it was impressive how good drastic was able to look. And I really appreciate it. I'm re-downloading it on my Galaxy S10 now, but yeah, this is an impressive showcase of emulation. I will at some point test out other things and make a video on it if you guys want me to, but so far I'm fairly impressed with this. If I go to the main menu here, I will go ahead and show you that it does in fact support all these things. You have to inject ROMs, and I'm not sure about the others. I know the DS one does require the BIOS, but I know the Game Boy Advance doesn't. I think I've already said this though, but it's really cool to finally be seeing emulation running on iPhone. And although I can't imagine Nintendo's going to be too incredibly happy about it, I would just like to say, fuck them, because they do not offer ways to play some of these games, especially these DS games. They do not offer ways to play them. Getting the original hardware these days is way overpriced. I paid $400 for a new 3DS XL just to mod it and play my games. Because my DSi, my poor DSi XL, God rest that poor thing's soul, I've had it since launch. The fucking game drive, like the slot, don't even work no more. I have to like forcefully rip my shit out of there if I put it in there, and it don't read games. But yeah, that's about it. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to show a little showing and talk about the emulation side of things, because it's finally happening. And yeah, I will cut this video here. I think I'm about done here. This is just a little throwaway video, another shitty little rant time video. That's about it. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. It's a lot of you who watch my shit are not subscribed, man. I'm begging you. I don't have children to feed. I got myself to feed though. Just subscribe, please. I will definitely be putting out more shit posts in the future. I will definitely be talking about more of this shit. My channel is going to be somewhat of a hybrid thing. But yeah, that's about it. I'm out.